So today is an exciting day for me because this is truly like one of my favorite subjects. But we have made it to day number 3 of 5 where we're talking about digital products. I hope you all are getting something out of this. As you can tell, I am like super geeked about digital products. I think they're amazing. I think the potential that they have is amazing. I think the potential that you have to make them is amazing. I just don't see any wrong in it. So that's why I wanted to share this with you all, just to make sure that, I'm doing what I said I would do. As I learn, I share. And so right now I'm learning all about the benefits of creating a digital product, particularly if you're someone who is interested in creating additional income streams for yourself. So as I mentioned, we are on day 3 of 5. And, you know, I just love today so much because I'm a writer at the heart of me and I'm a storyteller at the heart of me. And so being able to share a little piece of what makes me tick with you all is like super exciting to me. But before we jump into today's lesson, let me take just a brief moment to introduce myself to you. My name is Quinn Brewington, and I am the founder of Sister Lady Girl, the Second Act Summit, and the Second Act Summit Society, which we're sitting in right now. And this is a space for women just like you, women who are in midlife and they're on a journey to find answers to the questions what now, what next, and what else. So, if you are looking for information about how to regain and reframe your health, your wealth, and yourself, now that you've reached the age of 40, 50, and beyond, you are in the absolute right place. So, welcome. You know, if I'm being honest, like I said, I think today's lesson of all of the lessons that I have prepared for this week is really my favorite. And not saying anything, not trying to be boastful or anything, but I think all of the lessons are really good. I've taken my time to really dig in and create something of value to you all. But I think that today is really a favorite of mine. So I think so many people focus these days on the thing, right? Whether it's the product or the service or the car or the clothes or the shoes. They always focus on having a great product, right? But let's be honest. Let's be honest. Plenty of people out there have a great product. Lots of people duplicate, like I said yesterday when I was talking about singers as an example. Lots of people have great songs, you know but what's going to set you apart is your ability to storytell and how you use that story to connect with your audience on a really human level. So think about it. I'm moving my screen here because I feel like it's kind of off. So you can see me. Cool. So think about it from this perspective. People buy from people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. By and large, that's not always the case, but for the most part, that's kind of like the trifecta. Know, like, trust. So your personal brand story can be the bridge that makes customers feel connected to you and excited to buy from you. I cannot tell you how many times over the course of the last 3 or 4 years that someone who is attending the Second Act Summit comes up to me and they said, after I heard your story, I knew I had to be here. And that's because before the summit every year, a part of the strategy is really doing a blitz on local television and making sure that I am seen and, more importantly, that I am heard. Because the Second Act Summit isn't just an opportunity for people to just get together and just say, "Oh, girl, you're great. Oh, it's wonderful." We pull together this event because it's so important to show women in midlife that they have worth, that they have opportunities, that there is a next thing, even if you have to create that next thing on your own. And so that's what the Second Act Summit was created to do, to kind of show women in this age category that they can change their narrative and that they have the ability to change their narrative through their story. So, for those of you who have not heard my story, I will link to a couple of those interviews that I have done on local television, and I want to challenge you to see if you can identify my story. Once we're done here tonight, I would love to hear your feedback on what you think my story is. But I think that, you know, and a story that is super impactful is what you're going for, you know. And once you see me kind of telling my story, you'll hear it over and over and over again. That's a part of it. You know, you have to tell your story more than one time in more than one place for it to actually start to resonate with people. So, you know, you begin to see just how impactful a good story can be once you hear it on an ongoing basis. Now, I am not talking about making stuff up to be sensational. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being authentic. I'm talking about being vulnerable, right? This is your story. This is not something that you make up. This is not something that I'm not talking about a fiction story. This is your story. So, I don't know if you knew this or not, but human beings, we are really wired for stories. It's kind of like the oldest form of communication, right? You know, people sitting around before there was such a thing as televisions or entertainment like we have today. You know, people would sit around the fire, the campfire, and tell each other stories. And so, a story that's worth telling doesn't just share facts, right? It really evokes some emotion in you. It's supposed to establish trust, and it really helps people see themselves in your journey, your struggle, and even when you win. You know, think about like over the summer, right? We were watching the Olympics. We were like glued to the television watching the Olympic Games because not so much because I'm a sports fan. I'm not. I'm not, I don't really watch sports all that much. But when the Olympics was on, I was invested in these athletes because of the stories and the backstories that were being told about each one of these athletes. You know, they talk about their struggles, they talked about their family life, you know, and you really become like I said, invested in those stories. And so you're rooting for them because you want to see them win. You know what they've been through to get to where they are right now. And so in your mind, you're like, man, you have been through so much. You deserve to win. And I want to be here to support you when you win. So that's how I feel when I was watching the Olympics. That's how I felt. You know, I was just so invested in each one of those people's stories. I don't even know these people, but I wanted them to win. And it's because when you share your personal brand story, you're not just talking about what skills you have. You know, we all know that they are, you know, premier athletes, or else they wouldn't be on the Olympic stage. But, you know, we're not just talking about what you sell. You know, obviously at this stage of the game, you're a woman in your 40s, 50s, you've done some stuff. You've got some experiences, you've got a lot of successes under your belt. So it's not necessarily about what you do and what you bring to the table, but when you tell your personal brand story like that, you're sort of inviting people into your world, right? You're showing them who you are and why you do what you do. And that is, for me, I think that is the key thing. You're showing people why you do what you do. So I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. His name is Justin Welsh. I've been following him for quite some time, and he is a guy who sort of shows people how to be successful in their solopreneur journey, right? And Justin's story started with burnout and how he felt burnt out. So he had spent 10 years climbing the corporate ladder, and he realized that he was no longer fulfilled by that. He got tired of climbing. And so he left his really high executive job. You know, this was a guy who was sitting in the C suite, right? And so he left that job and he started to share his journey openly, because I think one part of his story is that he actually ended up having a severe anxiety attack that he had to be hospitaled, that he had to go to the hospital for. And so he talks about that really openly and talks about it in a really vulnerable way. And so now he's done that through LinkedIn, and he discusses his struggles and he talks about the lessons that he has learned going from a C-suite executive to a solopreneur. And so he's really kind of calling to those people who want to make that transition from corporate life to entrepreneurship. So this authentic way of storytelling really allowed him to resonate with a specific audience. So, like I said, he's calling to those people who feel stuck in that traditional 9 to 5, and they're looking for answers to help them free themselves from that situation. And so, by sharing this personal transformation, his personal transformation, he's been able to build an amazing community. Y'all, this guy has hundreds of thousands of people that follow him. It is just incredible, and his story is incredible. So, if you have not heard of Justin Welsh, I would say to you, look him up, follow his story, see what he does. And once he has done that, he's built this amazing community of like minded people, and they are all receptive to the digital products that he now offers. He offers courses about how to be successful on LinkedIn, and he also has a few coaching programs. And I'm telling you, he makes millions and millions of dollars because of it. Justin's content has really made people feel like they're in the trenches with him. You know, I'm one of them. I'm like, go, Justin, tell me how you did it. And so I'm there, and I love to follow him on LinkedIn and look at his posts. And he sends out these amazing newsletters. I mean, just chef's kiss. I mean, it's just so very good. So when you're connecting with your audience like that, think about Justin in a pivotal moment like he had, when he had his anxiety attack. I'm not saying, be all like, whoa, it's me. I just cracked up and I just didn't have, whatever. This is not about telling sob stories. It's about sharing pivotal moments and how you've overcome them in your life or your business, and how that experience has shaped the current path that you're on. So, like I said before, these could be struggles, these could be turning points in your life. I shared one earlier this week about how I had an aha moment, after the pandemic, and seeing all of these women in my age category lose their jobs, and me feeling like, whoa, I am really vulnerable, because here I am thinking, I'm safe in a Fortune 500. It's never going to happen to me. And millions of those women thought the same thing. And it just proved to me, wow, I'm really vulnerable. I'm in a vulnerable spot, that I am relying on a single source to provide the income for me and my family. And so that was kind of like an aha, eyes opening moment for me. So when you share these kind of moments honestly and talk about how they led you to create the solution that your digital product offers, people are like, oh, it really resonates with them. It comes off as really authentic, and then they can see themselves in the solution. and they can see how you've overcome the challenge, and so they want to overcome the challenge as well. So one thing to remember is that people don't connect with perfection. I would say that, people are actually repelled, or in some cases, they're intimidated by what they perceive as being perfection. But instead, they connect to people being vulnerable. It's your imperfections, it's your struggles, and your real life experiences that make you human, that make you relatable, honestly. And this is the key to making your audience feel like they know you, which in turn makes them more likely to trust you and then buy from you. Understand? Okay. So, another person that I follow online that I really like her stuff is Jenna Kutcher. I don't know if you guys have ever seen her or know her, but again, I would say jot these names down and go out on the internet and see these people. They're using their personal brands. So unlike me, who uses Sister Lady Girl, I don't use my name on the internet. But these people do. They use their names on the internet. So go out and look for Jenna Kutcher. Kutcher, and she's known most for sharing her life as a work from home mom, a wife, and she's a body positivity advocate. So her brand really started when she began to post about her journey as a photographer. She wanted to be a photographer, right? But then she really started to call to her audience when she began sharing all of these really vulnerable personal aspects of her life, like her struggles with her body image, and her work life balance. So, back then, a little bit about Jenna. She was a little heavier, when you say body positivity. She was a little on the heavier side. And so she's married to this guy who, I don't know, I don't know, she just got a lot of flack because people would often say that her and her husband didn't match visually because, he has the six pack abs and all of the things. And so it was a real thing. You can really see how people were really mean to her at that time. So if you go back in her feed, you can see some of those posts. But she opened up to some of this criticism, and she started allowing her audience to see the person behind the brand, and she started sharing um, how those things made her feel. And so this really created a really deep connection with some of the people in her audience. When I tell you that her audience is rabid about Jenna Kutcher, they don't play about her. They do not play about her because she was sharing, hey Charmaine, good to see you. Um, she doesn't play. They don't play about Jenna because, they established this really deep connection with her because who hasn't been bullied? Right? If you can remember back to your childhood, all of us are online now. You've seen it. Even if it hasn't been directed at you specifically, you've seen it, you've experienced it. So, of course, that creates a bit of a connection with someone because you're seeing them go through this sort of struggle, you know. So, in Jenna's case, she's not just selling courses about, Instagram marketing, which she is, but she's also sharing her lifestyle and her values. And this really resonates with her audience because they want the authenticity. They want to understand how to balance work life. They want to understand how to be a better mom and a better wife. And they ultimately want to understand how to live free. So when she launched her digital products, like she has some online courses and some coaching programs, and I have been a person that has bought those. Her audience doesn't see them like they're just another product. They actually see them as the solutions from someone who really understands the struggle that they're going through. So I would say to you, don't be afraid to share the parts of your personal life that might feel unrelated to your business at first blush. We have all seen how people try to make themselves look perfect on Instagram by showing a perfect life and perfect results. Yes, Charmaine, I agree. Authenticity is a really strong magnet. That's so true. But the issue is that we're showing all this perfection on social media, but life ain't perfect. Life is not perfect. It's the imperfections that you're willing to share that make you human, right? Whether it's your family life, you all have heard me talk about my daughter, Sydney. She has an intellectual disability, and Sydney is one of the main reasons that I go hard, because I want her to be taken care of. I don't want to worry about, you know, making her a burden for somebody. I want to make sure that Sydney has what she needs if, God forbid something happens to me. So that is what creates this sense of urgency in me and the things that I do because I want my daughter to be good. I want my daughter to be good. And I would say that, if you talk to anybody else in your life or anybody else in this group who wants to do something new, they have their own reasons too. They're going through personal struggles, or maybe they have a hobby um, that they want to go hard for, that they feel like they need to get some satisfaction for. So when you weave these stories into your marketing, like I have talked about, there was a time where I will admit that I was reticent to talk about my daughter because I didn't feel like I wanted people to feel like I was like they were feeling sorry for me or something like that. I didn't want to talk about it. And then initially, I started thinking about it and I was like, it's a part of my life. My life is not perfect. I struggle with that. I don't know anybody else in my life who is like me. None of my friends have a child with disabilities. So I feel like I'm on an island sometimes. And so I started talking about that because at the end of the day, as I always say, if I can do it with a child who has a disability, with a full time job, and all of the other things that I do, if I can do it, you can do it too. And so I try to walk that walk for you all. And your personal story isn't just about showing where you came from, it's also about, showing where you're going because I'm not done yet and neither are you. And so this is my way of walking together because we're all on this journey together. Nobody does it alone. Nobody reaches any level of any success on their own. For those people that think that, you hear them say, I did this, stay away from them because they don't know what they're talking about. Nobody does it on their own. You have to have that support, and that's what we're doing right here. So, like I say, your personal story isn't just about showing where you came from. It's about the journey, it's about looking forward, it's about looking ahead. This is where positioning yourself as an expert with a relatable journey comes into play. You can use your story to basically guide your potential customers through their own transformation and show them that you have already overcome an obstacle that they're currently facing. It's easier to be it when you can see it, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so the last example of a person who has used their story to be very successful is someone named Amy Porterfield. If you have not heard of Amy Porterfield, go check out Amy Porterfield. She is the queen of digital courses. But her story, just like mine, probably just like yours too, started with an aha moment, and this was while she was working for the self-help guru Tony Robbins. Yeah, she used to work for Tony Robbins, which I think is like so cool, but that's just me. But anyway, she realized at some point that she didn't want to be behind the scenes. She was writing a lot of Tony Robbins stuff, and she's got like this really cool background. And so she came to the conclusion that she wanted to be the one out front. She wanted to be the one that was creating and helping other people. So she started sharing this pivotal moment that she had, like, man, I don't want to be the background of somebody else's foreground. And so she started becoming really relatable to other people who were in a corporate environment like she was in, but they were dreaming of much more. They were dreaming of doing something different. And she turned that story, she started to use that story and position herself as an expert in online marketing. And she started specifically helping people create and sell digital courses. She's also very much known for teaching people how to build their email lists. And so I have bought that product because it's just amazing. I think what she does is amazing. She has this wonderful podcast that she does too, and it's just so incredibly helpful just to listen to her and kind of the journey that she's been on. And so her audience really relates to her because she has been in their shoes, and they trust her as their guide to get to the next step because they have seen her journey, they've seen her overcome, and so they believe in their heart of hearts that she can help them. So you can use your story to show that you understand your potential customers' problems, right? Because you have been where they are. It makes you authentic. It makes you relatable. And you can talk about how you overcame your problems and then position your digital product as the tool that's going to help your audience achieve similar success. Again, think about my situation. The reason that I created the Second Act Summit was because I didn't see anything like that for women like me in 40s, 50s, who was going through something, who needed to do something different, who felt like she needed to do something more, but didn't know how. And so I created this digital product, which was my online event at the time. We have since moved it into an in person event, but it started out as a digital product because it solved a problem that I was having. And I always say that I am my best avatar. And for a lot of you, you are your best avatar. People tell you all the time, oh, you need to do this and do that to create your audience. Well, I say, look in the mirror because oftentimes you are the avatar. So let's not make it more difficult than it has to be, right? Okay. So here's some things that you can do to connect your story with your digital product. All you have to do is follow these steps. So write these down. So the first one is you have to identify your core moments. Again, those aha moments. Look back at your journey and find some of those key moments that help define why you do what you do, right? Next, you're going to find the common thread. Connect those moments to your customer's current problems. Again, when people can see themselves in your journey, it's really helpful. It's really helpful to create that connection, to create that trust. And so you can show them that you understand their situation because you have been where they are, and they see you as sort of a beacon because you have gone through the fire and you come out the other side and you're successful. And so the next thing you do is you share that transformation because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for the transformation. Talk about how you overcame these struggles. Again, when you go back to that example of the Olympics, and especially like the Paralympics, right? Were you able to watch the Paralympics and watch the people with physical disabilities just knock it out of the box? So when you talk about how you overcome your struggles and what the payoff is for you, it really makes people root for you. This is where you can position your product as the vehicle for your customer's transformation. Remember what I said in a previous day? I said that at the end of the day, all the audience wants to know is what's in it for me. And again, it's not selfish, it's pure human nature. And then finally, you're going to repeat and reinforce, keep sharing your story in different places. Anytime that you see me talking, whether it's on television, being interviewed, on a podcast, on an Instagram live, on a live in this group, you're going to see me telling the same story. There may be different aspects of my story, but my story doesn't change. I may add to my story over time because I am growing as a human being. I am continuing on my journey. I'm learning new things, but by and large, my story is not going to change because guess what? It is my story. So keep sharing it in different places. Don't ever think that, oh my God, they're going to get bored of me. They're going to think that, no, this is how people are going to remember your story. This is how people are going to start repeating it back to you. And that's like a barometer of success for me. When people start repeating your story back to you, then that's how you know it's landed well. When they start saying, girl, you did XYZ, girl. I heard you did, girl. I showed up at your event because of your story, and this is where, when they start telling you those things, you're like, yeah, I know my story is resonating. I know it's hitting the way it's supposed to hit. So, your personal brand story is not just about you. I want you to remember that. Your personal brand story is not just about you. Remember, you have some other people who need your help, right? So, it's about your audience and how the things that you have been through can help them improve their own lives. So, remember these names: Justin Welsh, Jenna Kutcher, and Amy Porterfield. They've all used their stories to build really strong, engaged communities that support their digital products, right? They share their stories openly and they relate to their audience in a way that makes people, feel seen and understood. Like they they get on their platforms and they talk, and people sit there, and by people I mean me. They get on their platforms and they either write, like Justin Welsh does a lot of writing on LinkedIn, and when you read it, you're like, man, how does he know what I'm thinking? Or Jenna Kutcher or Amy Porterfield, they get on their podcasts and they talk, and I'm like, man, I can so relate to that. So that's what it's all about. That's why sharing your story is so important, because it helps people relate to you. So as you start to think about creating this new digital product that you're going to create, don't just focus on the features and the benefits. Like I said yesterday, the hamburger and the bun and and cheese, nobody cares that you have a hamburger. So does every other person on the corner. Everybody has the same thing. So don't just focus on the features and the benefits. Tell the story behind why you created this thing and who it's for and how it's going to help them overcome or solve a problem that they're having. Remember, it's your story that's going to make people connect with you and trust you enough to make the ultimate purchase. And that's what it's about. So, tonight's homework for you is quite simple. I just want you to write your story. Okay? So, I'm looking forward to hearing how it goes for you. I'm looking forward to reading your stories. So make sure that you're going back in your mind and you're looking for that pivotal moment and use it as a jumping off point. You don't have to get too deep in it. Just kind of like initially, if you want to just jot down your stories, just do that. And one person that I did not mention because I don't necessarily think that she sells digital products, but I'm totally fascinated by Tabitha Brown. This is a person who has literally monetized her entire body from head to toe, from her hair to her clothes to her shoes to her relationship with her husband, to her relationship with her daughter, to her relationship with her son, to her relationship with her dog. I mean, everything in her life has been monetized, and it is fascinating. And I've often said that I'm going to do um, a case study on her and then share it with y'all and show you how you build an authentic personal brand, because it looks to us as if, or maybe I'll just speak for me, it looks to me as if it's just effortless. And I know that that's not necessarily true. I know that there's a lot of effort that goes into it. But, when you think about her and you think about all of the things that she's involved in, somebody asked me a while ago, well, how do you do it if you're multi passionate? Well, isn't she like the epitome of someone who is being multi passionate? She talks about food, she talks about her hair, she talks about her dog. I mean, the list goes on and on. And let's not forget her YouTube series that she does for kids. And so, her target brand. Talk about somebody who has multiple passions and it's all built around her personal brand, her name, Tabitha Brown. And it started with one story of her being an Uber driver and stopping at what is that health food store? I can't even think of it right now. But she stopped there. She got her vegan sandwich and she ate it in her Uber. Took off. One story, one authentic story, and look at her now. So if Tabitha Brown can do it, why can't you? If Jenna Kutcher can do it, why can't you? If Justin Welsh can do it, why can't you? And if Amy Porterfield can do it, why can't you? I have an answer for you. You can. So, again, your homework tonight, write your story. I'm going to ask you about it tomorrow, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 7. Bye. Love y'all.